Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari, sprint pole position. Not quite pole position just yet, but what an electric start to the weekend. I'm here with Tim Kraaij to talk everything about your early morning wake up for the Chinese sprint qualifying. Tim, we spoke about the McLarens, Lando Norris being a bit overconfident, and he was nowhere to be seen at the top of the timesheets. Instead, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, it's like 2021 all over again.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of 2021 indeed, with Hamilton and Max so closely together as well. It was 18 tenths between the two of them for sprint poles. It's a special moment for Lewis, of course, being P1. A very difficult session in Australia last week out. And then to see him perform like this, he was on top of it already in FP1. He was most of the times quicker than Charles, and that was still the case in sprint qualifying. Yeah, very well deserved, and Max on P2 almost similar. Like in FP1, Red Bull was nowhere near the pace of the front runners, and then again they turn it around, and it's Max almost getting pole for Red Bull while his teammate was on P20.
The Ferraris, the Red Bulls, the McLarens, and even the Mercedes at some point, they all seemed to have a chance potentially of getting that pole position. Are we in for even tighter championship than last year?
That would be nice, but that remains to be seen, because McLaren didn't get the best laps in SQ3. So that is a little bit of a question mark there, especially with Lando Norris being on for a very good run in SQ3 before outbreaking himself in the last hairpin. So I'm not sure about that, because McLaren seemed to still have that edge, but Lando Norris wasn't there when he should have been there in SQ3. That's a big blow for him, and he needs to recover on the race tomorrow. And that's why I was talking about Lando being a little bit too confident yesterday. It's about getting those weekends back to back on a high level, and that's something that Max has been able to do for Red Bull, something that Lewis has been able to do over a lot of years, and that's something that Lando has to learn. There has been too many occasions where he dropped the ball, and that's something that you don't see Max or don't see Lewis do over a longer period of time. They're always there, and even when they don't have the best car, they're still there.
We've got a whole host of new names coming up. Lando was part of the last wave of this, but the rookies seem to be doing very well already, early doors, and one of them shining in particular, Kimi Antonelli, again, doing very well.
Yeah, it's of course a guy who's been hyped up over the last few years from people that have watched him in F4, that made a big step to F2. Made a good impression there alongside his more mature teammate Oliver Behrman, who had already done a year of F2, did already a season in F3 as well. He matched him, even beat him over a whole season. He was good over there, and now at Mercedes. And if you see how quick this guy is in his first two race weekends for Mercedes, and of course he's done a lot of kilometers of testing, but this is different. This is being on top of it in qualifying, in the racing. The gap to Russell is there, but he's always close, he's always there. So I'm very impressed with his performances so far.
Charles Leclerc, he didn't seem to be too happy with the setup in sprint qualifying with himself and Lewis. So what do you think about the dynamic that's happening over at Maranello?
Over the winter, there's been a lot of attention for Lewis, where Charles was always the prince of Ferrari, always the one to be the first world champion again with Ferrari. And now he's been a little bit in the shadow of Lewis. And it felt like Lewis was hyped up so much that he could only fall down. But now with getting this sprint pole, really being on top of it from the start of his tenure now at Ferrari, it will be a little bit edgy for Charles as well. He needs to perform now as well before he gets run out of the team by Lewis. So he needs to be on top of it, and I think that's something that you hear over the radio. Of course, he was a little bit surprised with the call that he got to move places with Lewis. It felt a little bit similar like his beginning period alongside Sebastian Vettel, where a lot of the times, especially at the start of the season, he got team orders to move away for Seb, while we already saw that Charles was a little bit faster. That developed over time. Charles was definitely quicker. They got on equal terms, and then later on Charles got the better of him and got the number one status. But now he needs to fight for it again, and yeah, I hope for him that he's up for it, but this will be a significant blow for him.
Let's focus our attention on the team principals, and we mentioned a little bit about the Max Verstappen. He might be going to Mercedes. Little bombshell that Zach Brown dropped in. Now, Zach Brown and Christian Horner were in the same press conference. What did you glean from this?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, there was no one on site to ask the question about what Zach Brown meant by the words that Max was going to Mercedes, why he thought it was. Fortunately, afterwards at the TV pen, they got the question, and Christian was a little agitated with the way Zach Brown behaved, and I think he was trying to steer things up a little bit, but also was saying like, this is the same guy that called our driver, or at least called our management. It's all politics again.
One of the things that did come out of this press conference, though, was the question about what the best qualities of each other were. What did they say?
Yeah, that was a very awkward situation. They had to point out the good quality of one another. You know, those two are not friends. They say they have respect for each other, but in the way they behave towards each other, I don't think that's really the case. But they had to answer the question, and Zach Brown started off not talking about Christian personally. He was talking about the success of the team, of all the success they've had. And of course, that's mainly down to Christian being the team boss of it over all those years. But he didn't say anything personally about Christian that he liked. And then Christian got the chance, and he copied that method and even took it to a more extreme by really talking about McLaren turning around last season, getting back on top. And Christian didn't even point out Zach's role in that success.
Well, thank you so much, Tim. I don't know if we're going through some sort of high school bullying thing or Formula One, but Formula One on track is sensational. I can't wait to see the sprint and actual qualifying. And Tim, you'll be back to talk us all through it. Thank you. We'll see you then tomorrow.